My son-in-law thought I didn't know his secret. He was wrong. I've built men stronger than him, and I've buried worse mistakes. But this one hit different. My name is Thomas Carter. I'm 62 years old, and I've spent 40 of those years building things with my hands. Houses, businesses, a life. After my wife Margaret passed 3 years ago, I thought the hardest part of my life was behind me. I was wrong about that too. I have one daughter, Emily. She's 34 now, and she's the only thing in this world that matters more to me than my reputation. When she was young, Margaret used to say Emily had my stubbornness and her kindness. I always hoped the kindness would win out. For the most part, it did. Emily married Ryan Miller 5 years ago. He was clean-cut, well-spoken, worked in finance. Something about investments and portfolios that I never quite understood. But he made Emily laugh, and after she'd had her heart broken twice before, I just wanted to see her happy. So when he asked for my blessing, I gave it. No hesitation. I even helped them with the down payment on their house, $40,000, money I'd saved for years. I didn't ask for it back. That's not how family works in my book. Then came the car loan when Emily's Honda finally died. Another $15,000. I co-signed because Ryan said his credit was tied up in investments. Then there was the nursery furniture when my grandson Jack was born. Small things. A few hundred here, a few hundred there. I never kept count. That's what fathers do, right? We give until there's nothing left to give, and then we figure out how to give more. For the first few years, everything seemed fine. Ryan would shake my hand a little too firmly at family dinners, call me Pops, even though I never asked him to. Emily glowed. Jack grew. Life moved forward the way it's supposed to. But about 8 months ago, things started changing. Little things at first. Ryan stopped looking me in the eye. When I'd tell a story about the old days, he'd check his phone. At Jack's 3rd birthday party, I overheard him tell his brother that I was stuck in the past and didn't understand how real money works. I let it slide. Pride is a young man's poison. I learned that a long time ago. Then came the jokes. We were at a barbecue in July, and I was talking about how I just landed a contract to renovate a medical center downtown. Good money, honest work. Ryan laughed and said, "That's cute, Pops. My quarterly returns are probably more than your whole contract." Emily touched his arm. "Ryan." He shrugged. "What? I'm just saying there's old money and new money, different worlds." I smiled. I always smile when I'm deciding whether someone's worth the fight. Margaret used to say I had 2 smiles. One that meant I loved you, and one that meant I'd already written you off. Ryan got the second one that day. But I didn't say anything. Not yet, because something else was bothering me more than his disrespect. It was the math. Ryan drove a BMW, new one, had a Tag Heuer watch that cost more than most people's wedding rings. They just renovated their kitchen, marble countertops, custom cabinets, the kind of stuff that doesn't come cheap. But Ryan worked as a junior analyst at a mid-size firm. I'd looked them up once. Average salary for his position, maybe $70,000, $80,000 a year, before taxes. And Emily hadn't worked since Jack was born. They were living like they made 3 times that. When you've run a business for 40 years, you develop a sense for numbers that don't add up. And Ryan's life was a column of red ink pretending to be black. I started paying more attention. It was a Tuesday afternoon in September when everything changed. Emily had called me that morning frantic. Their main bathroom had a pipe leak, water everywhere, and Ryan was at work. Could I come fix it? Of course I could. I grabbed my toolbox and drove over. Took me about an hour to replace the coupling and patch the drywall. Emily made me coffee, and we sat in the kitchen while Jack played with his trucks on the floor. That's when I saw it. The mail was stacked on the counter. I wasn't snooping. It was just sitting there right next to my coffee cup, and the top envelope was red. You know the kind that means someone's not paying their bills. Default notice, Crestview Capital account holder, Ryan Miller. I didn't touch it, didn't say anything, but I looked at it long enough to see the amount. $38,000 past due. Emily came back from putting Jack down for his nap, and I asked, casual as I could, "Everything okay with you guys? Financially, I mean." She smiled, that same bright smile she'd had since she was 6 years old. "Yeah, Dad, we're great. Ryan's investments are doing really well. Why?" "No reason, just checking in." But my gut was screaming. I left an hour later. Emily hugged me at the door, told me I was the best dad in the world. I kissed her forehead and told her I loved her. And then I drove home and sat in my truck in the driveway for 20 minutes, staring at nothing. 2 days later, I went back to their house. Emily had asked me to fix a loose step on the back deck. Simple job. But while I was working, Ryan came home early. He didn't know I was there. I heard his car pull up, heard him talking on his phone as he walked into the garage. I should have announced myself, should have called out, but something stopped me. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was the look I'd seen on his face when he grabbed that red envelope the other day. I stayed quiet, listened. "No, she doesn't know. I told you I'll get the money, it's fine." Pause. "Look, the old man's not gonna be around forever. He's already put 60 grand into this house. I'll figure it out." My hands stopped moving. The hammer I was holding suddenly felt like it weighed 100 pounds. "Yeah, I know, I just need another month, 2 at most." Another pause. "Trust me, I've got this under control. She's not gonna ask questions, she never does." I don't remember finishing the deck repair. I don't remember driving home. The next thing I knew, I was sitting at my kitchen table, staring at the wall where Margaret's picture hung. "He's stealing from us," I said out loud. To her, to the ghost of the woman who'd made me promise to always protect our daughter, and she doesn't even know. I didn't sleep that night, or the next. I just kept replaying that phone call, the casual cruelty in his voice, the way he'd reduced my daughter to someone who never asks questions, the way he'd calculated my death into his financial plan. I could have confronted him right then, could have driven back over there and put my fist through his face, but I've learned something in 62 years. Anger makes you stupid, and stupid men lose. So I did what I always do when something's broken. I started taking it apart, carefully, quietly, one piece at a time. First, I called my accountant, guy named Morris. We've worked together for 30 years. I told him everything, showed him a photo I'd taken of that red envelope, asked him to run a quiet background check on Ryan. Morris called me back 3 days later. "Tom, you need to sit down for this." I was already sitting. "Just tell me." Ryan Miller had taken out loans in Emily's name, 4 of them, totaling over $120,000, forged her signature on every single one, used their house as collateral. She had no idea. But that wasn't the worst part. Morris had also found something else. Ryan had been billing my company for consulting services, $5,000 a month for the past 8 months, $40,000, money I'd never authorized, money he'd somehow funneled through our accounts using Emily's last name to create a fake LLC. He wasn't just stealing from my daughter, he was stealing from me, from the business I'd spent my entire life building. I thanked Morris, hung up, and sat there in the silence of my empty house. Margaret's voice echoed in my head, something she used to say when Emily was little and got into trouble. "Don't react, respond." So that's what I decided to do. I wasn't going to react. I was going to respond, carefully, completely, in a way that Ryan Miller would never forget. I spent the next 2 weeks building my case. I kept every receipt, every email, every bank statement. I hired a private investigator, not because I wanted to, but because I needed proof that would hold up in court. I consulted with my lawyer, a woman named Patricia who'd helped me draft contracts for 20 years. "This is fraud," she said, reading through the documents. "Clear as day, you can press charges." I know, but I need to do this right. I need Emily to see it, to understand. Patricia nodded. Then we build the case airtight, no room for him to squirm out. While all this was happening, I had to keep pretending. Had to show up to family dinners and smile while Ryan sat at the head of my daughter's table, talking about his successful investments and his business acumen. Had to watch Emily look at him with love in her eyes while I knew the truth rotting underneath. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, harder than burying my wife, harder than every physical injury I'd suffered on job sites over the years, because this wasn't pain I could see or touch. This was betrayal, and it was happening to the person I loved most in the world. But I kept my mouth shut, kept my head down, kept building. One night, I went back through the company accounts myself, found the fake LLC, found where the money had gone. Ryan had been using it to cover his debt payments, to keep up his lifestyle, to buy that BMW and that watch and those marble countertops. He'd built his entire life on lies, on money that wasn't his, on trust he'd never earned. I sat there at my desk, staring at the numbers on my computer screen, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not anger, not anymore. This was colder than that. This was certainty. The next morning, I called my lawyer. I'm ready, start the paperwork. But I still had one more move to make, one more trap to set. I called Ryan, asked if we could meet for lunch, man to man, said I wanted to talk about a business opportunity. He was at the restaurant 15 minutes early, eager, smiling, shook my hand like we were old friends. What's this about, Pops? I hated that nickname, but I smiled. I'm getting older, Ryan, been thinking about legacy, about what I leave behind. His eyes lit up. I could see the calculations running behind them. I've got a big project coming up, I continued. Private contract, building a new wing for St. Catherine's Hospital, $3 million job, but I need investors, people I trust. I slid a folder across the table. Inside was a proposal. Numbers, timelines, all fake, all designed to look legitimate. I'm offering you ground floor access, I said. $25,000 gets you in. Returns could be substantial. Ryan picked up the folder, flipped through it. I watched his face, watched him see dollar signs where there should have been alarm bells. This is incredible, he said. I'm definitely interested. Good, but I need to know soon. We break ground in 6 weeks. He nodded. I'll have the money to you by Friday. We shook hands. I paid for lunch, drove home, and waited. Friday came. Ryan wired $25,000 into the account I'd set up for the fake project. Money he'd stolen. Money he thought he was investing. Money that was now sitting in a controlled account with my lawyer's name on it. I let it sit there. Let him think he'd made a smart move. Let him believe he was part of something big. All while the real paperwork was being filed. Corporate accounts frozen. Ownership shares transferred out of anything Ryan's name had touched. A legal net closing around him so tight he wouldn't even feel it until it was too late. 3 weeks passed, then 4. Ryan kept asking about the hospital project. When was construction starting? Had we secured all the permits? I kept feeding him updates. Delays with the city, issues with the contractor, nothing to worry about. These things take time. Then Emily called, asked if I wanted to come over for dinner. Early Christmas celebration, she said. Just family, Ryan's parents, some close friends. Ryan's really excited, she said. He's been doing so well lately. We want to celebrate. My heart broke a little, but I said yes, told her I wouldn't miss it. I spent the week before that dinner finishing everything, the last pieces falling into place. Patricia had filed the charges with the DA's office. The evidence was overwhelming. Fraud, forgery, embezzlement. Ryan Miller was looking at serious time. But I wanted Emily to see it first, to hear it from me, to understand why her world was about to come crashing down. The night of the dinner arrived, December 18th. Cold outside, but Emily's house was warm. Lights everywhere, tree in the corner, Jack running around in a tiny sweater. Ryan met me at the door, big smile, firm handshake. "Pops, good to see you, come in, come in." His parents were already there, his brother, a few colleagues from work, everyone drinking wine, laughing, celebrating. Emily looked beautiful, happy. She hugged me tight when I walked in. "I'm so glad you're here, Dad." "Me too, sweetheart." We sat down for dinner. Prime rib, roasted vegetables, the kind of meal that costs money. Money Ryan didn't have, money he'd stolen. Halfway through dinner, Ryan stood up, tapped his glass. Everyone went quiet. "I just want to say a few words," he started. "This has been an incredible year for Emily and me. We've grown, we've invested in our future, and a lot of that is thanks to the opportunities I've been given." He looked at me, smiled. "Especially this hospital project with Pops. That's going to be a game changer for us." People clapped, raised their glasses. I saw Emily's face light up with pride. Ryan kept talking about success, about smart decisions, about building wealth. Every word was a knife I'd eventually turn on him. When he finally sat down, I stood up, slowly. Everyone looked at me. "I'd like to say something too," I said. Emily smiled. "Of course, Dad." I reached into my jacket pocket, pulled out a folder, plain manila, nothing fancy, set it on the table in front of Ryan. "I want to thank Ryan," I said. My voice was steady, calm, the voice I used on job sites when something had gone wrong and people needed to listen, "for teaching me something important these past few months." Ryan's smile faltered just a little, but I saw it. He taught me that trust should always be earned, not assumed, not given freely just because someone marries into your family. I opened the folder, pulled out the first document, the forged loan application with Emily's signature. "Ryan, could you explain to everyone here what this is?" The room went silent. Emily leaned forward, confused. Ryan's face drained of color. I don't." I pulled out the next document, bank statements showing the fake LLC, the $40,000 he'd stolen from my company. "How about this one?" His mother gasped. His father stood up. "What is this, Thomas?" I looked at Emily. Her eyes were wide, searching mine for an explanation that would make this okay. But I couldn't give her that, so I gave her the truth instead. "Your husband has been stealing from both of us. He took out loans in your name, Emily, over $120,000, forged your signature. He's been billing my company for fake consulting work. And that hospital project he just told everyone about, it doesn't exist. I created it to prove what he really is." Emily's hands were shaking. "Dad, what are you talking about?" Ryan stood up fast. "This is insane. You're lying. You're just a bitter old man who can't stand that I'm more successful than you." I pulled out the last document, the wire transfer receipt, $25,000 from Ryan Miller to the fake hospital account. "This is your money, Ryan, or I should say Emily's money. Money you stole and tried to invest in a project that doesn't exist. It's all here. Every transaction, every forged signature, every lie." I looked around the room. At Ryan's parents, their faces twisted in shock and shame. At his colleagues, already pulling away from the table. At Emily, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't want to do this here," I said, my voice softer now. "But you needed to see who he really is. Not behind closed doors, not in private where he could explain it away. Here, in front of everyone." Ryan tried to speak, tried to defend himself, but the words wouldn't come, because there was no defense, no way to spin this, no charm or smile that could cover up the evidence laid out on the table. "I've already filed charges with the district attorney," I continued. "For fraud, for forgery, for embezzlement. Everything's documented, everything's legal." Emily stood up. "Dad." But before she could say anything else, there was a knock at the door. I'd timed it perfectly. 2 police officers, 2 men in black, 2 police officers. Patricia had coordinated with them. "We're looking for Ryan Miller," one of them said when Emily opened the door. Ryan's face went white, completely white. He looked at me, and for the first time since I'd known him, I saw real fear in his eyes. "You built your fortune on lies, Ryan," I said quietly. "But I built mine with bricks, and I'm still standing." They arrested him right there, right in front of his family, his friends, his wife. Read him his rights while his mother cried and his father couldn't even look at him. Emily just stood there frozen, watching her life fall apart in real time. After they took Ryan away, the house cleared out fast. Nobody wanted to stay. Nobody knew what to say. Within 20 minutes, it was just me and Emily and Jack, who'd somehow slept through the whole thing upstairs. Emily sat at the table, staring at the documents I'd left there. She didn't speak for a long time. Neither did I just sat across from her, waiting. Finally, she looked up. Her eyes were red, but there was something else there too. Not anger, not yet. Something deeper, betrayal, confusion, the look of someone whose entire world had just been rewritten. "Did you know," she whispered, "this whole time?" "About 8 weeks," I said. I wanted to be sure, wanted to have all the facts before I said anything. "Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me?" She didn't answer, because we both knew the truth. She wouldn't have, not without proof, not without seeing it herself. "I'm sorry," I said, and I meant it. "I'm sorry I couldn't protect you from this, but I couldn't let him keep doing it. Not to you, not to your son." Emily put her head in her hands. Her shoulders shook. And I did the only thing I could do. I stood up, walked around the table, and held my daughter while she cried. The weeks that followed were hard, harder than the discovery, harder than the planning, because now Emily knew, and knowing changed everything. Ryan was released on bail, but the charges stuck. The evidence was overwhelming. His lawyer tried to negotiate, but there wasn't much to negotiate with. Fraud is fraud. Forgery is forgery. The numbers didn't lie, even if Ryan had. Emily moved back in with me temporarily. Just her and Jack. The house was too empty for them, she said. Too full of memories that didn't mean what she thought they meant. I gave them Margaret's old room. Set up Jack's crib in the corner. Helped Emily carry boxes of clothes and toys and all the pieces of a life she was trying to reassemble. We didn't talk about Ryan much. Emily wasn't ready. But slowly, as the days passed, she started asking questions. How long had I known? What made me suspicious? Why didn't I tell her sooner? I answered everything honestly, told her about the overheard phone call, the red envelope, the math that didn't add up. I told her I wanted to protect her, but I also knew she needed to see it for herself, needed to understand what he'd done without me forcing it down her throat. "I wanted you to be able to choose," I said one night. We were sitting in the living room. Jack was asleep upstairs. "Even if that meant choosing to hate me for ruining your marriage." She looked at me, really looked at me. "I don't hate you, Dad. I hate that you were right." We sat there in silence after that. The kind of comfortable silence that only comes from years of knowing someone, of trusting them even when everything else falls apart. Christmas came. We celebrated small, just the 3 of us. Jack opened presents in his pajamas, oblivious to everything that had happened. Emily smiled more that day than she had in weeks. Small smiles, fragile ones, but real. Ryan's trial was set for March. His lawyer had tried to push for a plea deal, but the DA wasn't having it. Too much evidence, too clear-cut. They were going to make an example of him. I didn't go to the courthouse. Emily did once. Came home pale and quiet. Told me Ryan looked smaller somehow. Broken. That he'd tried to talk to her, but she couldn't hear him over the sound of everything he destroyed. In February, she filed for divorce. Simple, clean. Ryan didn't contest it. Couldn't really. What was he going to argue? That he deserved half of the assets he'd stolen. By March, the house was sold. Emily used the money to pay off the debts Ryan had racked up in her name. There wasn't much left after that, but it was enough. enough to start over, enough to breathe. The trial lasted 3 days. Ryan was sentenced to 4 years. Restitution ordered. His lawyer tried to paint him as a desperate man who'd made mistakes, but the jury didn't buy it. They saw what I saw, a con man who'd used love as a weapon. When it was over, Emily called me from outside the courthouse. "It's done," she said. Her voice sounded different, lighter, like something heavy had finally been lifted. "How do you feel?" I asked. "Free." That night we had dinner together, just the two of us. Jack was with Emily's friend for the evening. We went to the little Italian place Margaret and I used to love, ordered too much food and actually laughed for the first time in months. "I'm sorry I didn't see it," Emily said at one point. "I should have known something was wrong." "Don't do that to yourself," I said. "He was good at what he did. That's why people like him get away with it for so long. They make you feel crazy for doubting them." She nodded, took a sip of wine. "Thank you for not giving up on me, even when I couldn't see it." "That's what fathers do, sweetheart. We see the things our kids can't, and we wait until they're ready to see it too." We finished dinner, drove home, and for the first time in months the house felt peaceful, not empty, not haunted by what happened, just peaceful. Emily and Jack stayed with me for another 2 months. By May, she'd found a small apartment closer to her job. Nothing fancy, but it was hers, paid for with money she'd earned. No lies attached. I helped her move in, assembled furniture, hung pictures, made sure the locks worked and the windows didn't stick. All the little things fathers do. The day she moved in, we stood in her new living room, boxes everywhere. Jack playing with a toy truck in the corner. Emily looked around and smiled. "It's not much," she said. "It's everything," I replied. She hugged me, tight, the kind of hug that says more than words ever could. When I got home that night, I sat in my living room. Same chair I always sit in. Same view of Margaret's picture on the wall. "I did right by her," I said out loud, "didn't I?" The picture didn't answer, but I felt it anyway. That quiet sense of peace that comes from knowing you did what needed to be done, not for revenge, not for pride, but for love. My son-in-law thought I didn't know his secret. He was wrong. I knew everything. I just waited for him to hand me the rope. And when he did, I made sure he understood something fundamental about men like me. We don't break easy. We don't fall apart when things get hard. We build. We endure. We protect what matters. Ryan Miller learned that lesson the hard way, in a courtroom, in front of everyone, with his freedom on the line. But the real lesson wasn't for him. It was for Emily and for Jack. A lesson about strength, about knowing when to fight and when to wait, about the difference between reacting and responding. I'm 62 years old. I've built houses that will stand long after I'm gone. I've raised a daughter who knows her worth. And I've shown my grandson, even if he's too young to understand it now, what it means to be a man who keeps his word. That's my legacy, not the business, not the money, not even the houses. It's knowing that when everything fell apart, I didn't. I stood firm. I waited, and I made sure the people I love were protected. My son-in-law thought I didn't know his secret, but the real secret was mine all along. I've buried worse mistakes than him, and I'm still here, still standing, still building. That's the difference between us. He built his life on lies. I built mine on something that lasts.